Welcome to the Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Join us every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Eastern, on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. Learn more about the Experience community by pointing your browser to local.theexperience.video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. The Experience is brought to you each week by these great sponsors. The Aspects of Aging, weekly talk show with Christine A. Smith, unscripted conversations with experts, AgingBetterNetwork.com. Nancy Bakke and Best Entrepreneur Solutions. Transform your business's profit potential with proven strategies and tactics. BestEntrepreneurSolutions.com. Perspectives on Cancer. In-person event on October 5th and 6th in New York City, which brings together cancer patients, survivors, and supporters to share their stories, be inspired and supported by others in a safe space. The theme for the event is education and inspiration for healing, hope, and resilience. PerspectivesOnCancer.com. And now, your hosts for the Experience Live, Russ and Scott.
Ta-da! Woohoo! Here we go on the Experience Live with Russ and Scott. Hey, everybody, we're so glad you're here this morning. And you know what? We're here every week. If you love this show, and we hope you do, and it encourages and inspires you, we hope you join us every week, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And we just love this community, right, Scott?
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can also tune in as a podcast. Wherever you listen to fine podcasts like Apple, Amazon, Google, Spotify, you choose. The Experience is there and waiting.
And so no excuse about not having time, because you can be cooking, walking, jogging, working, whatever, and listen on your favorite podcast platform. I know a lot of people do that. In fact, my beautiful wife listens as she gets ready every morning to amazing podcasts. And so we know there's so much great value out there, but we want you to know that we have so much great value here because of the amazing people we bring in, like Carole today. It's going to be a great show. We have Carole Stizza with us, and it's going to be amazing. But Scott, give us a little update. You did some more traveling, and you're back in Waco.
That's right. Yeah, we landed in Waco last Wednesday, and then I drove. We had just driven in 2,500 miles after visiting family in California and Arizona, and coming across. I told my wife, that was fun. Let's do it again. So on Saturday, I got on a plane, flew back to Oregon, grabbed my car that was being kept safe and sound by our family, and then I drove another 2,000 miles, but this time through Idaho, Utah, and I went through Four Corners. And so actually the Experience Local was broadcast from a little town in Arizona, right by Four Corners. So that day I was in Utah and Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, the Navajo Nation, and the Apache Nation. So it was quite a day of travel.
Yeah, no, that's great. I tell you that one of the best trips I ever had, Scott, was with my beautiful wife and family and my amazing in-laws. I have the world's greatest mother-in-law and father-in-law, and we traveled in their motorhome, and we headed through all these states, starting with Idaho into Wyoming, and we went to, we hit every big spot out there, and then back around through Colorado and Utah and a whole bunch of states, and it was just a lot of fun. So I think that's amazing when you get those opportunities to drive and see the different things as you go. That's so awesome.
Yeah, the one place that I visited that was kind of just for me, right, was in Moab, Utah, and I stopped at the Poison Spider Bicycle Shop. Now, in October, and the reason is in October of 1995, my friend Bob Paith and I got in our car and drove to Moab to ride mountain bikes, and we rode on some amazing trails there. And I bought this hat at the Poison Spider Bicycle Shop, but after 29 years, it had kind of worn out. And
Right.
so I stopped and bought a new hat. So, but it was fun
Well,
just to visit and great to see that area. And boy, I tell you, that's the rock formations in that corner of the world, just incredible.
well, I tell you, memories are great. And I will just say one quick thing, and that is sometimes it's okay to update what we have for memories because I flew all the way to Kona when I turned 60 years young this last June to get this cup, the Kona
Hmm.
Joe's cup that I got from my dad. And when he passed away, when he went to heaven, this is my memory, one of my real
Mm.
good memories of my dad. And so I got another one because I accidentally dropped the first one and broke it, and it was kind of disheartening. And so I was able to go and get that. So yeah, I love to refresh those
I love
memories.
it. I love
But
it.
I think it's time to move on with the show and get
Yeah.
our amazing guest in because Carole Stizza is, she and I have been able to talk a few times, had her on one of my other live streams, just an amazing individual. And I'm
And
so excited
I
to have
think,
her.
Russ, that this is the first time we've had a lumberjack on the show. So
Yeah,
let's bring her in
maybe.
and find out what that's all about.
Okay, welcome, Carole. Here she is. Hey, Carole.
Hi. Yes,
Yeah,
the
see, there she
trees
is
in
in
the
her
back.
natural
Yeah, my
habitat.
natural habitat. I love it. Um, we love to hike and cycle up in the mountains. So this is the trees from a hike in Breckenridge, Colorado. So I figured, well, it's still summer, trying to get to fall as fast as possible for some of us. And I thought it'd be a nice morning background for you.
Oh,
Oh
that's
my
beautiful.
goodness.
I love it when people use their own photographs. So
Yeah. Yeah,
well
definitely.
done.
I love that. That brings back, speaking of memories, great memories, because I grew up in a town called Oregon City here in Oregon, but outside the main city limits where we had acres and acres and acres of fir trees and woods and just beautiful. And it was like, I was like Tom Sawyer growing up. It was great out there. So, so
Getting
much
people
fun.
to
But
paint fences for you, was that the whole
yeah,
deal?
that's the whole deal. Yeah. Yeah. So, Carole, listen,
Well done.
hey, let's start off with who is Carole Stizza? What are you up to? Give everybody a little insight of who you are.
Oh, that's a loaded question. Um, so I think foremost, I love being a mom and a grandma. I have two littles. My son has two kids, and wife, sister, aunt, all those things that make round out the human that I am. I'm also a wonderful, I call it recovering HR professional, where I stepped into executive coaching, understanding what leaders, people need from them. So I come at this from a unique perspective of, hey, you've been so far removed from your people, you may have forgotten what they really need from you, and it changes. So I think the most fun I have in life, outside of being outside, as you can see from the background, is working with the 5 different generations that are now in the office trying to work together, which probably could provide its own sitcom material, and just helping people lighten up and understand that we're just really all human, and that we're more the same than we are different. So
Yeah.
stop concentrating on the differences.
I love that. Yeah, we do share a lot more in common, and every generation looks at the upcoming generation with a little bit of trepidation, maybe. But that's every generation, and
Every
so tell us about uh, some of the processes, methods. What types of things do you do when you work with the folks?
um, well, like you're inviting people to think differently, to open up and kind of expand their thinking and look at their situation from a different seat in the room, a different chair. Just like you go to an art museum and you see a piece of art from different angles and you start to realize there are different dimensions and elements to the situation you may have forgotten to consider. Um, just 2 days ago, I was talking with a client who was having a little bit of a vent session about the difference motivating factors with the different generations. And we started talking about just the simple concept of a thank you note, where the oldest generation in the office still loves that personal touch, But yet the youngest generation is worried about the ecology and the planet, and they don't want to cut down a tree for a note card. They'd rather send a meme or a video or a text, so they're motivated by ecology and environment and the waste that they see happening in the world. Whereas the oldest generation in the office is like, it's just a note card. And they're like, do you know how many trees or had to be cut? So we have this philosophical difference on the simplest thing that makes people feel heard, valued, respected. So it's interpreting another language from a motivation standpoint of each person's reality. And the people in the middle see both sides. And so you're like, okay, so if they see both sides, what do they suggest you do? What do what we kind of have to yes and our life, not either or it. And so I'm always encouraging people, like, let's just think yes and, because that's where innovation comes from, and that's where both sides get a say. So it's always an interesting conversation to see where they're at and see where they want to go.
I love that yes and, because I think that there's so much wisdom and to be learned from both sides of the spectrum. Different generations see things differently, like you said, but I learned so much from my children, who are now not really children. I mean, they'll always be my little kids that 31 and 34 now. But I learned so much from them now, but I also learned so much from the generation before me.
Mhm.
And, I think a lot of that, I love what you said about the note card thing, because this is what I got out of what you just said. Don't pass by the simple things in life that can make such an impact. Stop and take a moment to do these simple things that could be revolutionary for your life and for your business. And so often I think we jump to the complicated things. I'm all about purpose, perspective in life, but I've been in sales and marketing my whole life, and people jump into these complicated marketing plans and things that are confusing. It reminds me of my freshman year economics class at Oregon State that I actually completed with not really even knowing what economics was, because it was so confusing. I think a lot of people jump into these marketing plans. By the time they're done, they don't even really know what marketing is or does still, because they've skipped past the simple truth of write a simple note and tell people how much
just
you
say thank
appreciate
you,
them.
right? Just say thank
Yeah,
you. That's the common
exactly.
denominator in that.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, Carole, I think that I love what you're all about, and I love how you're helping when you're talking to these executives and you're coaching them and working with them. I think a lot of them do get into that C-suite mentality where they're not really down looking at what's really happening in the trenches, right? What their workers and their companies really doing. How do you reconnect them in those kind of scenarios?
Well, what I find is helpful is asking them more personal questions about who they are as a human, and then letting them recognize how much satisfaction they got out of reminding themselves what is human. For instance, when someone sees me and we're doing our thing, they don't know that at 6 I lost half my family in a car accident. But when they do find that out, they go, whoa. And I go, why did that change your perspective of me? Because I suddenly became more human to you. I had loss. I was young. I grew up without a mom. I grew up understanding how loss affects a family. When I was in so I've been in 3 car accidents, all stopped and turning left. So I'm not scared of driving. I'm more scared of other people in left turns than anything else in the world. But when I was hit in my car when I was 17, the other driver didn't see me. I mean, they even said, I had no idea, I didn't see her. So that's what it feels like, very painful to feel invisible. So I understand what it can feel like to suddenly feel invisible. And even the executives can feel invisible. So we start by saying, how do you get visibility? What makes you feel seen, heard, and valued? Can you do that for your people? Have you been so far removed that you forgot how you need it? Let's let them experience it too.
You know, if you watch movies, and we're a big movie family, the in those spy movies, right? And they're trying to infiltrate, they'll dress up as what? The wait staff,
Mm-hmm.
because that they're invisible, right? Nobody sees them. Nobody recognizes them. And I challenge you, I challenge everyone that's watching and listening. The next time you're at an event or at a restaurant, catch yourself not noticing those people.
Mm-hmm.
Right, there's a great exercise, and I've done that recently, and it's just amazing. Just a self-awareness of that, and this is something that we can carry into the workplace and go, who have I not recognized? Who is just invisible? Who is the server that I've been ignoring? This person who shows up every day. Carole, I'd love to have you just kind of continue how people can bring this, I'll say, mindfulness into their work environment.
Well, one of the questions I always ask is, what do you want people to brag about when you're not in the room? And it catches them, and they kind of go, no, no, no. What do you really want them to say? Thank God I know them, or thank God they left the room. Or I have a boss who, she's amazing because she helps me grow. I have a boss who takes the time to figure out, and he knows the name of my dog. What do you want people to brag about when you're not in the room? And then when they start to really kind of pick out what's really important to them, then I go, what are the behaviors they need to see you do? What are the little things that make that happen? It doesn't take a lot of time out of your day. It really doesn't. It takes more intention. But that intention is the easiest way to change a habit than anything else. And so you can actually create, and I had a wonderful tip from another a fractional COO who helps CEOs who don't have an operations manager. Her tip was, what are your numbers? And if you want to talk to one employee a day, if you want to make 2 introductions a day, if you know that you've got to have 3 new client projects by the end of the year, what are your numbers? And your numbers can correlate with inside the office and outside the office. But you get to pick and make it. It's easy to think about. It's easy to be motivated by those. And you just have to simply remember your numbers.
Yeah, what I love about what you were saying there, talking intentionality.
Mm-hmm.
And I love this. What do you want people to say when you're not in the room? Because, yeah, that really, I think, really boils down to legacy too in our lives. What do we want people to say years after we're gone? What kind of an impact do we want to make on people? Because I think that the impact we make now lives on, and it can be so impactful on people later. How often do we quote amazing people that have passed on, right? Amazing people. Jim Rohn, I always quote, you're the average of the 5 people closest to you. I love that, right? He's no longer with us, but that quote lives on, and his impact lives on. And so I think that a lot of times people don't think about that. Their visibility now affects their visibility in years to come. And that's so important to me. I mean, I think about that. And so when it comes to intentionality again, people say, yeah, I don't really know that I can make a difference. I don't know how to get to these people. And sometimes it's way simpler than they think, right, Carole?
Well, I'd like to double click on that idea of Jim Rohn's famous quote about you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And I had a friend joke, like, well, I just spent time with somebody who lowered my average. And I looked at him and I said, yes, but you upped theirs. So are you going to be that person that ups everyone else's average on your way to spend time with people who inspire you? Don't cut people off just because you think they lower your average. You may be exactly what they need to raise their average that day. So you have to look at both sides of that coin and both sides of that saying. And you might be the person somebody else needs, even though you didn't need them. And
Yeah.
that's the type of intentionality that we kind of need to build and flex that muscle so that we can look at both sides of the coin more easily. Kind of like learning two languages and able to go back and forth. It's not just about what you need, it may be exactly what they need. And I think leaders are so overwhelmed with the demands, the lower staff, the shorter time turnarounds, the fast speed of technology, that they have to kind of take a breath and go, I'm losing focus on what really matters to my team and my organization so that people will come back to me, clients will come back time and time again, people will stay, I'll have retain the right talent, and I'll have access to growing my company, not just trying to survive with replacing talent. And so it's all connected if they can continually look at both sides of that coin.
I love
Yeah.
this connection. It's you just listed kind of a number of things that would be indicators for a C person or business owner to say, we really need to bring in some outside help. I need to look for a coach or a consultant or someone to come in. Typically, we in business use the financial statements, profit and loss, or maybe the balance sheet to measure our business. But there's a lot of currencies out there, or emotional currency, the relationship currency, mental health, right? There's all these different things. So, Carole, I want to have you kind of expand on why someone would bring a coach in, and what type of coach would they bring in, specifically, of course, in your business.
So I joke that the word coach is like the word seasoning. You open the cabinet and you pick out the seasoning that's right for you in that moment in time. I'm an executive leadership coach that works with leadership relationships, whether it's leadership relationships with the people that you need to get the most out of, or at elevating your influence across your peer groups or in your industry. So I'm I love to play in the gray of people connections. So I like to tell people coaches are like your secret weapon. I don't have to have done your job, but I know what your people need from you because I know people. And so it gives me a fresh perspective to not have a bias of how you should do your job. It allows me to help them have mental space so they can actually explore new perspectives about what they really want. But all coaches are really trained to do that, to help them have that moment of space and thinking. So we become their thinking partner. We don't have a hidden agenda that we like somebody in their office more than them. We don't have any of that baggage coming in. We just go, here's your canvas. Let's explore what matters to you and what you need to get done. Do we help with accountability? Yeah. People will go to the gym for someone else rather than just for themselves. Same with an executive coach. If somebody says, I'm going to do this, and they see our coaching session coming up, they're like, oh, I said I was going to do this. And they're more inclined to do it, even if it only benefits them. It's the accountability, the partnering, the thinking, the curiosity I offer to help them explore things they haven't had time to think about. So coaches, yeah, we're the secret weapon, but it depends on what you need. And I have a wonderful network of coaches. So if somebody comes to me and they're going through something that's just not my wheelhouse, I will happily make sure they're connected to the right person for the right reasons, because that's just how I roll. I'm kind of got that blue ocean mentality. I can't coach the world individually. I don't have enough time. So why not get somebody the right result, the right person, because we all look good in the process of doing that.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I'm a firm believer that we are better together. When I dove into this back early when COVID began in my own business, first thing I did was connect with everybody that was doing what I was doing. And I would have them on live streams, and people would say, why are you having your competitors on your live streams? I said, because they're not my competitors. And they said, what do you mean? It's the same thing, that blue ocean mentality. I'm not for everybody. And we work to sharpen each other. Iron sharpens iron. We become better at what we do. And the people that we can impact and affect, we are better at that through the people that are in the same mindset that we are as far as life and what they're doing. I just think that makes us so much better. And so my last question here for you, and then I'd like you to give us your gold nugget and let us know how we get in touch with you. But first, what I want you to let everybody know is someone comes to you and I'm struggling. I'm an executive. I'm just not connected. I love that, intentional connection. I'm not connected to my people. I don't know where to go. I'm just struggling. I just really need your help to get started. If that's where it all begins, just that first step. What do you say to them to get them on that first step in the right direction? Answer that first, and then go ahead and follow up with your gold nugget and the how to get in touch with you. Okay, go ahead.
Well, when I get to meet anybody who's open and asking about coaching, I get to ask that lovely question, well, what kind of leader do you really want to be? Let's start there. Tell me more about you. What got you here, and what do you really want to see happen? When you talk to me about a problem, what's the biggest challenge facing you? A lot of times I know that every minute an executive spends outside of doing what there is connected to their ROI in the office is valuable. So my goal is to make sure they have at least a tangible tool or idea to walk away with, regardless if we continue to work together. So to your point, we jump in hard and fast. Like, what is the biggest challenge I can help you with right now? And that starts to tell me more about them. Then I will ask them, what kind of leader do you want to be? What do you want the results to be, et cetera, et cetera. It helps me understand if we're going to be a good fit, or if another one of my people in my network are going to be a better fit for their exact outcomes, because that's the most important thing for them, is to get the results they need as fast as possible. To your point, Russ, one of the areas that is lacking, that provides people the conversation with me, is not only how do I be a really great leader, how do I train and mentor the leaders that are coming up in my organization? Because the buffet of choices is so extreme between universities or webinars. And the most interesting thing I did this summer was talk to a lot of leaders about what would make a leadership development training irresistible to you, to create a pipeline of leaders that made it easy, and a culture of leadership that came back to you. And so that's what I get to introduce this fall, as a new leadership development program based on all of their answers. And I'm kind of in love with it. It's meant for all levels of leaders on the last 40 years of research of leadership behaviors that get exceptional results. And it's been a fun adventure on top of meeting new leaders and understanding what their challenges are. So in those research questions, every single leader I talked to, I made sure walked away with something useful for them to use that day.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, Scott, final thoughts?
Yeah, I spent most of my career as a people manager, and early on as a manager of bank branches, right? And we go off to these management meetings, and at every break, all the other managers, well, not all of them, the majority of the managers were on the phone calling their branches up. And I thought, wow, I must be a bad manager, because I trust my people to do their job while I'm not there.
Right. Which is great. And they appreciated you being gone and not bugging them and micromanaging them.
Right. Just let us do our job.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so awesome. Carole, tell everybody again how they get in touch with you.
I love to connect on LinkedIn. You can look me up with Carole. I have an E on the end of my first name, and my last name, Stizza, Stizza, spelled just like pizza. I'm married into that. That's the fun part. I also have a website, relevant-insight.com. And either one of those will allow you to message me. I would love to connect and hear your ideas about leadership, challenges you want to solve today. Totally open for it.
That is so awesome. That just magically appeared below you as you were speaking.
Ooh,
And
I love
yes,
it.
and so not only, everybody, is this in the show notes, but it's also right there in the comments. And guess what? It is clickable. What does that mean? Click on it. Off to Carole you go. So you don't even have to remember that stuff. Click on it, go there. We try to keep it simple, right? I mean, I'm a simple-minded kind of guy. Let's just make it easy. So there you go. Go straight to Carole. And I tell you, Scott and I both really, really encourage all of you to connect with Carole, because she has got great wisdom and great insight and things that are going to help you in your business today. So, and I just want to remind everybody too, before we let Carole go, don't forget to share this out with your friends and tag them still. Even if you missed the whole show, you can watch it on replay. It sits on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook forever. And it also converts to audio podcasts. You can listen as you jog, walk, cook, get ready for work, whatever. So I want to remind you, please do that, because this lives on, and the wisdom today was so amazing. Mm-hmm. Carole, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate you. We're going to send you out to the green room here as we wrap up, but please hang tight for just a sec. We'll be right there.
You got it.
Wow. Great to have Carole on.
Yeah.
So it turns out she's not a lumberjack.
Yeah. I love that.
To get out in their beautiful picture in Colorado there, but really what we got was just a great picture of bringing in an expert like Carole to look at the leadership, and it is such a critical component of your business. And I'll just say, we all think we're great leaders until someone else looks at us from the outside, and we may be good, but we can be better. So bring Carole in.
Oh, always better, always better. And first of all, let me go back to say, there's nothing like the fresh outdoors to clear your head and get you pointed in the right direction. I highly encourage throughout your day that you go outside and take a walk, even if it's just around the block. If you do a couple things to help you, because when you get stuck on your computer or stuck working constantly and try to force through things, you're never as productive as when you give your brain a break and breathe some fresh air. And that's so important. So, hey, we just love everybody being here. Just want to remind everybody, my favorite thing is Scott's new landing page, local.theexperience.video. Everything, well, almost everything about Scott and I are there, and our other live streams, as well as how to bounce to our web pages. He's at D. Scott Smith. I'm at russhedge.com. And also, if you just want to jump straight to our YouTube page, you can go to theexperience.video and please subscribe. I'm telling you, there's so much wisdom there that you can gain from all of the amazing people like Carole that we've had on. And so it is all kind of a one-stop there with all the videos together, which makes it nice. So we appreciate all of you. Carole's information, our information has been scrolling along the bottom, but all that stuff is in the show notes and in the comments, and it is clickable for all of us. We'd all love to chat with you, but please contact Carole. And Scott, I just love this every Wednesday. So thankful for you. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you.
Just a blessing to hang out with you, Russ. It's fun every week, and we get to hang out with the most remarkable people on the planet, like Carole.
We do. And with that, we're going to call it a wrap. I just love this because Kermie's always here with us to encourage us too, and we love that. So until we see you next Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time on The Experience Live with Russ and Scott, have an amazing rest of your week. We'll see you soon, and enjoy
the experience.
Woohoo! See you, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in to The Experience Live with Russ and Scott. If you enjoyed today's show, please share it with others, post about it on social media, or subscribe on YouTube. See you next time.